Island, a reimagined farm sim game set on a tropical island and inspired by the classics. From building your dream farm to mingling with the townsfolk, diving for pearls, and traversing forgotten caverns. There is so much to do in this upcoming indie game. While there is much that we do know about what's to come from Stairway Games, there are also plenty of important questions left unanswered. Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Sarah Sunstone, and today I wanted to talk about 5 things that we still don't know about Coral Island. Let's address the biggest one first. Perhaps the most asked question about Coral Island, which has essentially been left unanswered, is when exactly will this game release? Now, the good news is that we're doing much better now, intel-wise, compared with where we were only a few months ago. At the very least, we currently know that early access will launch at some point this calendar year, being 2022. We don't know exactly when, and we may not get an exact release window or date still for quite some time. However, we can reference the development timeline that was provided in the February 2022 developer update and make some speculations. As of right now, we are currently sitting in alpha version 0.08, and if the team wraps up the final 2 versions of the alpha along the same schedule they've been following to date, the current alpha version should run until approximately the first week of July, at which time we will get the very final version of the alpha, version 0.09, which then could run until around September. If the subsequent polishing phase also lasts 2 months and early access releases immediately afterwards, then we could be looking at a November release date. Now, one caveat to this prediction is that it does appear that the team is slightly ahead of schedule. We've already seen a number of elements listed for the alpha version 0.09 being released into the earlier version, including the greenhouse and the season showcase, along with elements we didn't anticipate to be ready at all for alpha testing, like multiplayer. So what I'm trying to say is that there is potential that they will release the game earlier than November, or later if unforeseen circumstances arise, which basically means we don't really know when Coral Island will officially release, but this is our best guess. Now, just a few reminders. Early access is exclusive to the PC platform, and console release for PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo Switch isn't planned for until after the PC's full release. If you thought it was coming approximately 6 months after early access, you are correct in that line of thought. That was an initial statement being made by the team, however that has now been amended with an additional note that they may be making a more conservative statement to be safe, because if everything goes very smoothly, console release could come sooner. Finally, on this topic, I do wonder if some sort of announcement will be made about Coral Island during the 2nd week of June. This is around when E3 usually takes place. However, as we know, that is no longer. Summer Game Fest is still being held, and there are also quite a few indie game showcases like Wholesome Direct, where I could definitely see Coral Island fitting into really nicely. I think it would be a great opportunity for them to drop an early access trailer and maybe even reveal a release date. One thing I do know is I'm definitely going to be watching like a hawk for basically the entire month of June. Next up on the list of unknowns is whether or not Coral Island will have a physical release of their game or any exclusive physical merch. There's honestly both signs that point to yes, as well as those pointing to no. On the side of the latter, Stairway Games as a company has communicated their values quite clearly in terms of eco-consciousness and sustainability. I mean, these values are quite literally embedded in the nature of this game. Clearing the ocean of waste, fighting against pufferfish, the evil oil drilling corporation, saving the dying coral reefs, hosting an annual beach cleanup festival, tending to the community recycling center. I could really go on and on. I could see them as a company making the decision against physical copies and merchandise entirely to reduce their ecological footprint, but I also understand the excitement and joy that these items could generate in the community and how good it could be for their game and company as a whole. And I mean, Seriously, am I gonna say no to a chicken plushie or a bonsai hacker hoodie? Probably not. Not to mention, they are also now partnered with Humble Games as their publishers, who have themselves recently published several indie games that have gone on to release physical copies. Unpacking is a great example of this. This game's physical edition was printed through Limited Run Games, and because it's limited run, it seems that they really just take pre-orders for the most part and then print what is purchased, so there isn't as much waste and the overall number of copies is more limited. So this approach to printing physical copies could strike a happy balance for Stairway Games if they choose to take this route. And I'm not gonna lie for 1 second, I think it's no secret that I would love to have a physical copy of Coral Island in my hands and be able to see it on the shelf at my local game store. Now, moving away from some of the more practical matters, let's get into some of the big unknowns about Coral Island's gameplay. One of the hottest topics when it comes to this game is the world of the Merfolk. There are seriously so many unknowns in this realm of the game, and it would honestly be far easier to list what we do know than that which we don't. We know there's a kingdom, we have about 20 merfolk living there, 10 of whom we can befriend, and we can also choose between 2 merfolk to romance. There will be quests and festivals, and we will need to decipher their language and gain the gatekeeper's trust before getting access to enter. But how are we even going to find this kingdom in the first place? Perhaps through the Coral Island current? A chance encounter with a merfolk? Must we first clean the entire ocean floor of its trash in attempts to get their attention and approval and show that we have good intentions? We really just have no idea. There's also a big question mark when it comes to romance. How on earth are we possibly going to become close enough with our future partner if we are limited to the capacity of our oxygen tanks? How are we going to create and maintain a sustainable relationship with one who lives on the ocean floor? How can we possibly have children with our merfolk partner? Will the child be a human? A merfolk? Both? Neither? There is so much to speculate on here, and we really just have no answers at this point. Only mysteries. Speaking of mysteries, we still don't know anything about the 4 unrevealed mystery NPCs who were unlocked as new characters during the Kickstarter campaign. We have seen one of the character portraits, and although the image did say subject to change, it seems they have stuck with at least this design based on the recent photo we saw of this exact character rendered 3D into the game. Beyond this, we know next to nothing, but we can make some speculations. We have a lighthouse on Coral Island, which appears to have living quarters within based on the developer diaries, meaning we need to have at least one NPC who resides there. We also have an observatory, some hot springs, a furniture store, a clothing store, an animal shelter, and honestly, who knows what else? All establishments currently existing with no one to run them? Now that simply can't be the case. Now it's fully possible that some of the townies we've already met do work double shifts and have second jobs, but I think it's actually more likely that we are going to have more than just these 4 unrevealed NPCs. I'm going to go out on a limb, and based on all these locations I listed, I'm gonna say that there's actually around 7 to 8 characters that we've yet to meet, but this is honestly just an educated guess based on the numbers. All that being said, we also don't know if any of these characters are dateable. Not that we really need any more choice, because I'm already struggling to pick between the candidates, but at the same time, I seriously wouldn't complain if the team wanted to add to the romantic chaos. And finally, on the list of great unknowns, we seriously know almost next to nothing, officially at least, about island hopping. This is a feature that is said to be coming after the game's full 1.0 release. So we do have a little while to wait. Okay, maybe a long while. But what we do know is that we will be building a ship, and we will use that ship to travel to different islands to find presumably unique biomes and experience new stories. But that's it. We did, however, get this fun little piece of promotional artwork, which is likely largely conceptual, but we can make some predictions based off of it that honestly may not be too far-fetched. We can speculate that there will be a series of biomes to visit that may include an Arctic biome, a desert biome, a jungle biome, and maybe even a city. I think it would be amazing if we would meet all sorts of new characters, be able to spot brand new wildlife, collect unique resources exclusive to those islands and bring them home with us. I really would like to see the option to customize our boat a little bit and maybe even have storage on it so we can really collect items and resources from the different islands and not have to pick and choose what we bring home with us. I would also love to see unique shops and market stalls across the islands. Really, the options are almost endless with this feature, which is one of my favorite things about it. Whatever comes from this feature, I think it is an excellent way to extend the life of this game because the team could continue to add one island at a time with fully fleshed out stories and quest lines, and could even introduce more deluxe sort of experiences later down the line as separate DLCs, just continuing to build and build upon this existing feature. So those are some of the big unknowns about Coral Island that I wanted to talk about today. But since the game is still fairly early in development, honestly, this list only scratches the surface. If you have a big mysterious question about this game that has been left unanswered to date, feel free to leave it in the comments below and perhaps I'll do a part 2. Then you can hear my thoughts on those topics as well. And of course, as always, I'd love to hear your take on absolutely anything that we discussed here today. All that being said, thank you so much for watching. I love you all. And until next time, take care.